Welcome back to Party on the Peninsulas with MDP Chair Curtis Hertel Jr. Mr. Chairman, we're recording on Saturday, and it's almost like Halloween a day late, a house of horrors. For starters, the first day of what the Trump administration fought to be the beginning of the end of the SNAP food benefits. In the last 2 days, there have been all sorts of big developments on SNAP, both at the state and federal level, impacting about 1.4 million Michiganders who rely on SNAP to help feed their families. It is really confusing. What are you seeing? Are these people going to be taken care of? What are you hearing in Lansing?
The biggest thing right now is the courts. The state of Michigan provides some assistance, but it's hard to actually meet all the need that is created here. This is why we have a federal government to be able to pay for large programs like this that help people in their biggest time of need. Certainly, our food banks will be able to hold on for a little while, but they're not prepared for this surge as well. And so I know the governor and the Senate and the House are all trying to do what they can right now, House Democrats specifically and Senate Democrats and the governor. But at the same time, we have what's happening in the courts, which I think is really important, where now it's been ruled that this would be cruel and the emergency dollars are there and that Donald Trump can't just kick millions of people across this country off of food assistance because he's upset with the House, with what the Democrats are preventing him from giving tax cuts to billionaires. And so they've actually said at this moment that they are going to hold these things, they're going to stop it. Now, my guess is they'll appeal that decision. And because of the length of time of courts and everything else, that we will see some period of time where SNAP benefits go away. I think the president's dead wrong on the law. He's certainly dead wrong on the morality of this. But you know, he could be negotiating right now. Instead, he's playing golf this weekend. At some point, yeah, leaders actually have to get down in rooms. He says he's, the art of the deal, the best negotiator, everything else. At some point, he's got to actually sit down with House and Senate Democrats and come to an agreement. The emperor's no clothes moment this week was when he said that they should just do the filibuster. They should just get rid of the filibuster, and they're not going to. They've already said they can do it, but it is a good point that they argue that they can't do this. There's plenty of ways that they could do it, but the easiest way they could do it and solve it is to actually go back to the table and negotiate like everybody else has to do in this world.
You talked about the court's ruling, and that was really significant. And we shouldn't leave out the role of Attorney General Nessel in making that happen. She joined with attorneys general from about 24 other states, all Democrats, of course. And they succeeded in federal court a couple of times just at the last moment. It may not restore benefits right away, but it probably is the best substantive step that has been taken of all the efforts by Democrats at the state and federal level.
Oh, it's incredibly important, and it really does highlight the importance of all the races that we come up against. I always talk about how yes, the Senate race and yes, the governor's race are incredibly important, but the Attorney General and Secretary of State, making sure we have free and fair elections and making sure that we have somebody fighting up for people in this state against the federal government, having a people's lawyer like what Dana Nessel has been, that is incredibly important. And so I think that sometimes we are paying attention to some of the more front of mind races, but I think it's really important that we win all those seats this next year.
Let's move on to something else that happened in this last week. The state Republican Party held what it called a gubernatorial debate, but it was different from so many other debates. For starters, there was no broadcast or online stream of the event, as though they were ashamed of what would be said. They charged members of the audience, about 200 people, $50 a ticket just to be there, which again is incredibly unusual. And the alleged GOP frontrunner, John James, he was, as he is for everything else, a no show, even though Congress hasn't met for a month and he's got plenty of times on his hands. What was your reaction to what was said? Who didn't show up? The whole spectacle, it really was bizarre.
Well, first of all, the Michigan Republican Party is so broke that they have to charge people to be part of their debates that they can't even get the top candidates to come. I mean, like it should tell you that the sad state of affairs the Michigan Republican Party's in. But I mean, John James is nowhere man, right? I mean, he is literally they can't find him. He's somewhere in his basement trying to run for governor. And I think that's, I mean, listen, there were some crazy things said on the debate stage. People said that, they want to get rid of unions in this country. People made all kinds of crazy claims during this debate. But the front runner or supposed front runner wasn't even there. I think it says a lot about his lack of confidence in his ability to actually, espouse his own message, but also just, you're sitting in a room full of, third tier candidates as well. I mean, there are some pretty interesting people on that stage.
They also, between them, came out for basically bankrupting the state. Some of them want to repeal the state income tax, others want to repeal property taxes. They both sound nice until you realize that that would basically mean the end of so many state programs, things like the state police and prisons and food safety and on and on and on. Pretty desperate when you start promoting radical things like that that you know aren't going to happen and you know deep down are crazy.
Well, they're all so desperate. I mean, at one moment it's, what fanciful thing you could give to the Republican red meat base, and the next is just, which I think is the most sad part, is just kissing Donald Trump's ass the whole time. I mean, they're all up there trying to, enter his name into every three words, hoping that they get the blessing, because that's the only thing that will really change the race for them is get Donald Trump's blessing at this point.
Maybe he'll throw a fundraiser for them in his new ballroom.
They're going to have to for Runstead pretty soon. I mean, he's charging for debates. He'll be charging, who knows what he'll be charging for next. I mean, it's kind of a silly process.
A couple of other quick notes from the week. One very strong positive, and that is the Court of Appeals ruling that MAGA Matt Hall has to end his hostage taking when it comes to 9 bills that were passed by the legislature last year,
Yeah,
and he's refused to send to the governor.
we've covered this in the podcast before. I mean, the audacity of somebody who swears an oath to the Michigan Constitution to violate it in this way is sad. I've been a legislator. My family served 50 years of service. No one else has ever tried what he's trying to do, and I'm glad the courts ruled the way they did. I'm sure that they'll appeal again, and I'm sure they'll lose again.
And your father was Speaker of the House, so he could have done this, I suppose, if he'd wanted to. Of course, he would never think of that.
And then, the last thing I think we saw was Tom Barrett is very, very upset because some protesters put some chalk on his sidewalk outside of his office. He has called the Lansing police to investigate this chalking. I don't know if your grandkids, Walt, have ever chalked before. My kids have chalked
Oh,
before.
yeah.
Didn't realize that it was a punishable offense that the police had to be called. I mean, you know, the idea that you would cut food for 1.4 million people in the state, your own constituents, and that you would cut their, rise their cost of healthcare and cut their access to healthcare, and then would have the nerve to be such a snowflake that someone chalked the sidewalk outside of your office and would say that you were being threatened by such things as let us live and restore our health care. You find that such a scary message. I mean, I just, for somebody who has always played pretty tough, this has got to be one of the most thin-skinned responses to a chalking incident that I've ever seen.
Gives new meaning to the term snowflake.
Well, what are they going to do if someone TPs the house? I mean,
Hey, Halloween
I
was
just
he probably had the police out for Halloween.
it was Devil's Night. I mean, I just he posted pictures online of somebody left a wooden heart and said, we hope this will help you because you haven't had one yet. Like, that's not how is that? That's not a threat. That's not anything. I mean, like, I can't. I mean, it's just shocking to me that this is how low of what we ask our public servants. You won't meet with your own constituents, and you call the police on them because they write a message to you on your sidewalk.
Finally, the insurance notices are going out this week for renewals for the ACA. So there's going to be a whole lot of sticker shock going on. But people can take heart in the fact that at least now the Lincoln bathroom in the White House has been totally remodeled and is now beautiful marble with gold fixtures. So we know where the president's priorities are.
Just how Lincoln would have liked it. I mean, it's
Uh,
just the idea that we're remodeling the White House at the same time of the pain that is happening across this country is really, I mean, it's really disgusting. It's a let them eat cake moment for sure. And I think pretty depressing for their administration, and does point to why we've got to win the elections in 2026 to hold them accountable and elect snowflakes like Tom Barrett, send them back home. I mean, if he was back home, he would realize that, chalk's a pretty common thing around here.
Pretty strange times.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen him at lunch downtown. He's calling the police about chalk at his office. He's got plenty of time on his hands, apparently. So it'd be nice if he actually went back and tried to negotiate actually getting something done for the people that he represents.
Well, maybe we should get him some chalk remover for Christmas.
Or just a bucket of water. All you need is a bucket of water.